Fatalides. She is representing Greece. These guys are doing big things in the world of fraud prevention, fraud detection.
I was 23 years old when I got into this. I was studying in England. I was doing IT recruitment shit. And then I went from that. Basically, my boss today used to be my client back in England because I was doing some recruitment for him. And then one day I was just like, fuck this shit. I hate this job. Do you want to hire me? I know nothing about affiliate marketing. I know nothing about tech, but I promise you I'll get right down to it. And he just gave me a shot. And then I moved to Germany within 1 week.
If you had to put an estimate in the amount of lead fraud there is with the data, where would you say it's at?
Everybody has it. Not everybody wants to admit it. Minimum 15 to 25%.
Which categories in our industry where you say there's the highest amount of lead fraud?
If I had to pick something, I would say mobile and lead generation.
Do you have an example of horror stories of maybe clients that got burned by or they were buying a lot of fraud, maybe?
Oh God, do you really want to do this? Because I can't say names.
It's a male-dominated industry, obviously, right? What's it like being a woman in tech and lead gen?
I have to say it was a pretty damn hard ride for sure. Honestly, I have to be constantly an overachiever if I want to get the minimum recognition that a guy gets just by snapping his freaking fingers.
Did you ever feel like, fuck this, I'm gonna give up? Or like
1,000 billion times. I do this. Probably this crosses my mind every single week.
Guys, we're taking this serious. We got the headsets on. You're only the second person I've done it with the headsets on, just so you know.
Really?
The first one at 2012. Yeah. First time for everything. Guys, and we're the first Greek person we've had on the Greek representative we got on the podcast. So guys, we're here with Christina Fatalides. She is representing Greece. She's representing 24/7. These guys are doing big things in the world of
24 metrics.
24 metrics. You know, Christina Pantelides from 24 metrics. They're doing big things in the world of fraud prevention, fraud detection, data. Guys,
Big data.
We're at affiliate world, right? There's a lot of data coming through here.
Yep.
It's a big, big business.
The new gold, big data.
Big data's the new gold. I love that you said that. It really is. So the problem though, right, is that the data, the good thing is that data is the new gold. There's a lot of money and a lot of monetization and it creates win-wins. People get the products they want, but there's so much fraud. If you had to put an estimate in the amount of lead fraud there is with the data, and where would you say it's at?
Oh my God. Really? You want to do this?
Yeah.
Average, minimum 15 to 25%. Everybody has it. Not everybody wants to admit it, but everybody has it. It's part of the ecosystem. Even if you are an honest business partner, if you don't have the right tools or you simply just don't know how to identify it, because come on, we didn't study big data, all of us, right? You're not an expert on this, then it's just there for you. So all you got to do is do your due diligence and find the right partners to help you with that.
So how do you, first of all, who's your ideal, who are your clients? If you had to take an avatar client, who's the client that benefits from listening product?
Agencies, networks, direct advertisers. The only difference is that the product has different functionalities to serve different types of clients because the KPIs change and they differ if you're an advertiser, if you're a network or an agency. Obviously, in the one hand, you're the middleman. On the other side, you are the guy that takes care of the advertiser's budget, so it's a different stress level. And then you've got the direct money guy, which is the advertiser.
Got it. So what kind of, I don't know what we want to say, verticals, or which categories in our industry where you say there's the highest amount of lead fraud, or is it prevalent everywhere? Like,
it's everywhere. Honestly, I wouldn't tell you, but we see a lot of stuff coming in mobile. If I had to pick something, I would say mobile and lead generation. But definitely, everybody has it. And on the estimates, they're roughly about the same, like 15 to 25%.
Got it. And we talked about, there's such a thing as good fraud, right? Because obviously when we talk about fraud, it's got a bad connotation to it. You blew my mind away with that there's actually some good fraud you want to keep the line. So what constitutes bad fraud and what's good fraud?
So maybe I put it in the wrong way. When I say good fraud, I mean fraud that you can live with. That's a better way to put it. Because at the end of the day, everybody is here to make money, right? And businesses have KPIs and you have to reach certain levels and targets when it comes to money. Now, what you really need to do is sift out all the stuff that's really, really bad. And maybe in some cases, you can just say that just admit and understand that it's part of the ecosystem, and you let some things go through because you don't want to put yourself into a position where you might have false positives, or you want to overkill performance, because it's just how it is. So you need a tool, and you need technologies that take into consideration the full mentality of being a marketer. It's not just a black and white box. So that's what I meant by that.
So waste false positives. So the idea is that you might, is that actual fraud? It might look like fraud, but it isn't fraud, and it could be a good lead that you don't want to.
Exactly,
Yeah, okay.
exactly. I'll give you an example. Let's talk about lead generation. For example, you might have like people that come from X amount of areas that maybe it's not your prime target group when it comes to geo, but then they have really old devices, really old operating systems and things like that. But then you're running a campaign that does automotive, and your advertiser is Tesla, and each Tesla car is what 50 grand minimum or whatever. Do you think the guy from a poor area in New York with an old device and an old operating system and a shitty screen resolution is probably gonna be monetized for this campaign? Probability is not. But fraud detection tools usually are not built to see these kind of details, so they just overkill everything. We don't do that. We give you like the freedom to set your KPIs based on specific settings, according to the industry you are in, according to the different targets that you have, geos, all that kind of stuff.
Interesting. So
So it's not fraud, it's a real user, but it's not a user that you should be paying for.
Exactly.
It's not monetizable. And that's what I meant about fraud that can be good or bad. It's all fraud is bad, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't cut everybody out.
God, I get what you're saying.
You know?
Yeah, there might be some cream there. You don't want to get rid of the cream. It could be a false positive. I think that's the biggest point of it.
Exactly.
Do you have an example of? I'm sure you've probably had some horror stories of maybe clients that got burned by or they were buying a lot of fraud, maybe like 30-40% fraud, and they came to like, you have a before and after you can talk about? Case study?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Do you really want to do this? Because I can't say names.
No, you don't have to say names. It's like fictitious name. There was a company, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to say exactly.
There was this company that basically came to our advertiser, and they work with all the great DSPs, and they claim that they have their own internal fraud detection system and things like that. And the numbers looked really good overall. But then when you looked at the transaction IDs, they were just empty. There was nothing there. The conversion rate was really good. And then after all, when we looked at the data deep down, we saw that more than 58% was absolutely fraud. And it was coming from residential proxies. Do you know what residential proxies are, guys?
You told
No, but I can tell. Okay. So basically, it's when people like me and you, real users, they sell their real Wi-Fi connection and their IPs to like certain third-party companies. And then the fraudsters buy these IPs, and they look really legit because obviously the real user has actually submitted his real details to that third-party platform, and they get like $30 or $40 per month for this. And we call these masked IPs. They're so good at, like, so difficult at being identified that right now, especially in the US, we see a massive amount of fraud coming just from residential proxies. And they're extremely hard to detect because, as I said, it's you and me actually voluntarily selling our own IPs and our own Wi-Fi connections and details to those platforms.
Man, it's mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling. What people do for just $30.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I've seen some videos. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I've seen videos online of like these farms where they got these people on these computers doing all this crazy stuff.
Actually, if you want, we have emulated a clickbot farm on our own, our 24 metrics. Through ChatGPT, we just did a script just to showcase people how easy it is to to commit fraud basically with bots and things like that. And if you want, after the podcast, we can put it under the link and people can watch it.
Yeah, we'll put it in a link. That'd be awesome. When we talk about this world, it's so vast and it can be complex, right? But I think showing that example will kind of help people really understand it visually.
It's extremely easy, guys, especially now at the times of ChatGPT. Everybody can code and you can create an algorithm. So simple. Just a piece of code, and it's literally just click bombing everything. Just bots, boom, boom, boom.
Damn, it's crazy. So I know we jump right into the guts of what you do, right? With the very, very, very intricate, it's complex. Yeah. So let's go. Let's take a step back. How the hell did you get into this field?
Oh dear Lord, you want some sauce right now, right? Okay, so I was just like
I want the
23 years.
halloumi.
You
want
want the
the good-
halloumi?
the
I'll
good
give you
bits
some
of it.
halloumi. Okay. I was 23 years old when I got into this. I basically I was studying in England, I was doing some IT recruitment shit, and then I went from that. Basically, my boss today used to be my client back in England because I was doing some recruitment for him. It was a one-man show at the time. It was just him and the company. He just founded it, 24 Metrics. And he was looking for staff, and I was helping him to find some technical guys. And then one day I was just like, fuck this shit. I hate this job. Do you want to hire me? I know nothing about affiliate marketing. I know nothing about tech, but I promise you I'll get right down to it. And he just gave me a shot, and then I moved to Germany within 1 week, and then I just
That was a good snap, by the way. Wow. Jeez. You heard that snap? Wow.
us girls have that coming very easy to us.
I used to do that shit in the call center. That was fucking nice. All right, sorry.
Yeah, and so that's how I got into it. And then I just went to Germany. I moved there, and it was literally just me and my boss sitting in an apartment in Berlin, and we just started it all. And
when was this? What year?
so the company started in 2014. First clients came in 2014, but I joined the company in 2016.
Okay, so that was 2014, right? And I mean, obviously, this is probably like a dumb question, but I don't know if you know the answer. What was the level of fraud then compared to now? I'm sure it's ballooned massively, right?
The levels of fraud,
Yeah.
I would say it increased a bunch of lot. The only difference is that now people find it more easily because now obviously we have more technologies that have evolved. But guys, I have to say this because there's so many companies still doing this shit manually. Like, hello, it's not about don't pick my solution. I don't give a shit, but at least do it internally and figure out your algorithms and put your tech team to work and do this with the real software. People still trim the data manually and then just can't find shit. And then people, you go from booth to wood and booth and affiliate world and they just say, oh, we do this internally and manually and we're just fine. And I bet if they give me a CSV import, I'm going to find some shit that they can't even imagine.
That's
If I'm doing manually.
Yeah, and I would say that's something the audience should take advantage of. Like, they reach out to you, and people piss away.
Anybody. I'm not here basically to sell my product, but all I'm trying to say is that technology is here to help us, and we need that automation in an online marketer's life. You have enough work as it is talking to direct publishers and advertisers and doing the middleman and having all this headache. You don't need to also look at the data manually because you're just not a machine. You're not going to find everything.
There's a new endeavor called roofs in the box. It's just, man, from day one, it's taken off.
When I first started getting into the roofing industry, what was happening was my fixed costs were always there. And so for me, I was looking at how can we kind of, one, save on these costs, and then two, how do I not lay people off during down times? But also maybe even the ability to pocket more money during the slow season or even the peak season. Since we've done this before, like with our lead gen companies where we have virtual staffing and from Argentina or Colombia, I'm like, why don't we do the same thing in the construction business? Now, once we figured it out, so we reduced their fixed cost by 70%. And so now during the downtime, they have real seasoned veteran type of players. But during the uptime, they pocket 70% of their operational costs are now going back in their pocket. And then when it's time to scale, they have the back end prepared, already ready to go to help them lift off. Depending on what state you're in, you're averaging about 12.5% on what you pay out on taxes, insurance, all the different insurances that you have to pay out, right? So yeah, you don't have to pay out unemployment, you don't have to pay out FICA insurance, Medicare, Social Security, the things that business owners have to eat.
Roofs in the box is not just limited to roofing or home improvement companies.
You can use it for any services, right? You can use it for IT. We use them internally for data sales, for hygiene, for analytics. It doesn't even matter what the vertical is.
It's like business in the box at the end of the day.
Pretty much, yeah.
So going back, right, you got into the industry in 2014, started going 2016. I want to ask you a question, right?
Sure.
That I think is really important here. It's a male-dominated industry, obviously, right? How have you had any challenge? What's it like being a woman? You're in tech and you're a lead gen. What's it like being a woman in tech and lead gen?
Well, I have to say it was a pretty damn hard ride for sure. Definitely the tech industry is dominated by guys, and I had a lot of like innuendo since day one when I first joined. That basically how did I get my position? What did I have to do to get my position? And honestly, I have to be constantly an overachiever if I want to get the minimum recognition that a guy gets just by snapping his freaking fingers. And I have to close 10 deals if I want to get a clap or a pat in the back compared to the guy that might close just one and he'll be the man. So that definitely is something that I felt it in my bones. Then, of course, it's a very fast-paced industry, so I had to constantly be on the run and really educate myself. Obviously, I wasn't coming from an affiliate background. I knew nothing about the industry. So being a tech provider, you just have to know the ins and the outs from every single position, from the advertiser, the agency, the network, the publisher. You just have to live in their skin for real if you want to build a good product that adds value. It's not enough just to do it from one perspective.
So I think that's phenomenal answer. And you're obviously very driven, right? Very driven. I think I help you overcome all that. And so I can't imagine. I'm a man, right? I have a daughter. She's 12. She'll be 13 soon. I can't fucking believe she's about to be a teenager. But, I worry about her.
Right.
But I worry about when she gets into the workplace, and I try to be a good role model to her, right? And I love that story because I travel all over the road. I feel like in these international shows, though, you do see more women. In the U.S. shows, there's a lot less. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but if I had to estimate, I think internationally, I'd say it's probably like a 75-25, maybe 80-20 mix. In the U.S., it's more like 90-10.
And also you have to look at the positions that these women represent. Because in my experience, you also don't get a lot of ladies in leading positions in tech. You might just get them, for like account managers doing the sales, basically, pardon me, the ass licking job. So it's not cool. In order for a woman to climb the ladder, it just takes 10 times more overachievement levels than a guy. She has to perform.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like, fuck this, I'm going to give up? Or like
1,000 billion times. I do this. Probably this crosses my mind every single week.
Wow.
But
That's very humbling. I appreciate you sharing that because I wouldn't think so. You seem very confident, and I'm like, oh, you broke this barrier, but like you still deal with it, right?
I'm confident in my craft, and I'm very, very lucky that I have a really good team. At least now I do, because back in the day when we're a one-man show, we had to go through a lot of recruitment problems to find the right match and the right team in order for us, to build an ecosystem where everything just worked well. If anything, we have a very Netflix kind of culture in my company. So you get a lot of freedom, but you have to really be responsible with your shit. And you can do it in your own way. We don't care how you get it done as long as you get it done. So I'm very fortunate because I resonate with this sort of culture. But if it wasn't for my team, I would have definitely given up a billion times because there were a lot of hurdles as a bootstrapped company, small company. When we started again, it was just me and my boss. So it was a long way.
What was the biggest hurdle?
Oof, the tech. Honestly, we would, funny story. We used to have this ping alarms that we had to set up on our phones, and like so many times the servers went crashing with we had that massive influx of clicks or conversions that we had to process in the queue. And then our servers were overloaded and we had this ping on our ping dome on our phone, and an alarm used to go back and back at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I would come up and say, okay, do you do it if I do it? Should I reload the servers? It was so humbling, honestly, that we had to manually try to really, not to fuck up our clients, basically.
God, yeah, I can't imagine. I'm not a tech person, but
4 and 5 a.m. in the morning being woken up by the server alarms.
That's what I said. But I value, it's a skill I don't have. So I value the team, but my team that does. I value all tech people because, man, without tech, that's it. That's the backbone to everything, right?
Yeah.
You could sell. You can be the greatest salesperson in the world. get the products in, but you can't execute. And that's what technology does, is execution,
Exactly.
right? So
It's execution and automation. I can't stress enough this word, automation. Absolutely. Because it just saves you so much time and hurdles, and basically time is money. What can I say? So that's what automation does to you. It just saves you a lot of time, therefore money.
I think time is money. That's what.
Yeah, it is. Especially in our industry, guys. Especially.
It's a lot of money. How has the show been for you so far?
Obviously, I met you guys, which was a great experience. Thank you so much for having me in this podcast. I've never done this before. It's my first time. But it's very interesting to see that a lot of people coming from a lot of different niches coming together, and we all at the same day are aiming for the same goals. We all want to perform well. We all want to build like meaningful partnerships, and that really comes to show when it comes to fruition.
Yeah, I want
Great energy, great vibes.
Yeah. And you're doing for your first podcast. You're doing great. I mean, it was fun meeting you. We met. This wasn't planned. We went. I was at a affiliate world dinner for speakers dinner. Then they had they called it. It's a grand society. It's like a.
What's that?
It's called a grand society. It's a get together of all the speakers and some heavy hitters and affiliate marketing. So I went there, and then Chance, the producer of the show, we had lost each other. He was on the other side of Dubai. I was there, and I FaceTime him. And he's like, I'm at the Conrad. I'm like, I'm at the fucking Conrad too. Come down. Came down. We did some sake bombs down there, right? And then we went out, had a great time. But one thing I want to say about these shows, especially the international ones, it's a different level of partying. It's a kind of like, I don't know. I think it's like a better type of party than it is in America. I don't know what you think about it, but the people you meet are just cool. They do different. Like I don't really.
It's very clicked. So like you see cliques in the American, let's say, conferences. Americans doing American shit in American ways with the Americans. But here we're all like literally one community, honestly. And we get to really see how different we are. But in reality, we're all so alike. We all want to have just a good time, and we all like want the same things.
What's American shit? What's your definition of Americans do American shit at the events?
First of all, I don't know if I can say that, but they're obsessed with size, okay? Like obsessed with portion sizes, like everything is too big. The parties are like gigantic and enormous, and the celebrations and the way of expressing themselves. There's a little bit of a totalitarian, let's just say, attitude about that everything comes from them, and whatever Americans say, that goes.
Wow. But yeah, you got part everything. They try to do everything to get big. I get it. I've been part of that too. Big parties or whatever.
But then again, I mean, also we have to recognize that everything starts from America. Whatever starts there as a trend comes back here eventually. So I do get it why people can get a bit cock-headed sometimes. I get it. But guys, keep it low, okay? There's other people in this world as well that don't speak English.
Yeah, listen, it's an ecosystem at the end of the day. That's why I like coming to these shows, because you build partnerships, and some stuff leads to stuff, some doesn't. But at the end of the day, also memories. We had a fun time last year, right?
We sang Adele.
Yeah, we sung Adele. We party a lot of people, and at the end of the day, you're bringing value to the audience here, because it's a real thing. This fraud shit is massive. I bought fraudulent leads without knowing it. I had no clue. We'd use some system. I forgot the name of the system. It was like 5 to 10%. And we were able to identify it, but this was way late. We identified it months later, and we destroyed so much money because we weren't proactive.
That's where tech comes in automation. If you do it manually, as many companies do today, you just cannot do it in real time. That really costs you money. And it costs you relationships as well, because it's very time sensitive. The amount of transparency that you have to give to your partners and your advertisers is very time sensitive.
Yeah. And I like you meant what you said about the cost your relationships, because this is a relationship business.
It is.
I spoke on stage, just moderated a panel, and we talked about the importance of the relationships, right? And I wouldn't be where I am without those relationships. I've got couple of clients, multi-billion-dollar companies, and if I'm selling them, whether it's internally, most of my stuff is internal, that's how we run, but we have some external partners. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. They don't care if the lead is internal or external. It's a lead you sold them. And so if you're sending fraudulent leads and they're paying for that, I mean, they're not going to want to work with you. But
Not gonna work.
Yeah, so you got to be proactive, and the more proactive you are, the more.
And you have to be honest. I can't stress enough how important honesty is. And just like, for example, let's say I am your advertiser and you would come to me and you would tell me, listen, I will do the best that I can. I have like implementations in place that I'm spending money from my own pocket to implement tools and technologies that will guarantee you as much as possible clean and good traffic. But fraud is there and we're fighting it. And there's nothing like, the more you try to avoid or evade the subject, the more fishy you become. And the more you jeopardize that kind of relationship and honesty that has to come with it. Just be honest, be up straight, implement the tools, get the job done. And I'm pretty sure that the relationship will be much long lasting if you're just honest and inspired.
And I also think too, that it gives you an edge, and it becomes a marketing tool when you have a client and you say, listen, we also do this. We reinvest our revenue, our profits into these proactive tools to protect you. Because probably, I don't know what you would say, but out of every 10 maybe lead vendors, maybe I would say 1 or 2 are using some tool like this. Would you agree? Is that small, or do you think more people are using these fraud prevention tools?
I think a lot of people claim to do it internally, but again, they're doing manual work.
Yeah.
And I can give you a prime example of this, how like you just cannot deal with this in a manual way. Because, for example, you look at your numbers from Monday to Friday, you're in the office, you look at your conversion rates, they look good, everything looks good. But then somebody, a fraudster, on a Sunday at 3 a.m. until 5 a.m. in the morning, they just decided to bombard you with clicks, like with the click farms. And I'm going to show you in the video that we're going to show to your audience that we did the bot. And then you have this massive influx of these clicks that actually do tamper a lot with your conversion rates, but it's a very isolated behavior that happens in a very specific time frame, and then that stops. And then you go back in the office on a Monday morning, you look at your numbers, your conversion rates are really effed up, and you're like, where did I go wrong? Like, I was checking the whole week, my numbers, the data look right. What happened? Good luck finding in so many raw data entries where these click bombs came from manually. We're not going to find it. It's just too much data to go through, and the behavior is very isolated, but it's enough to tamper with your conversion rates and like completely F up the whole process.
Yeah. And if you lose one client, they talk to other clients, it's going to multiply, right? So
It's a domino effect.
It's a domino effect, yes, what it is.
Absolutely.
Well, great. Listen, Christina, you did a great job here. First podcast ever. For a lot of value. I don't think we've really talked too much about this on the show, the amount of ad fraud there is out there. So,
Which one?
it's good. We haven't talked about it with our audience about this topic that much. And it's a big topic to talk about. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it's an important topic. So I'm glad you did it. And
Thank you. Thanks for putting up with me with my first time.
song.
Oh, I'm not going to do that. Guys, please, you have to give me those sake bombs first.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, backstage.
Let's fucking go in Greek. How do you say it?
Πάμε δυνατά.
Πάμε δυνατά.
Πάμε δυνατά.
So, good stuff, Christina. Good job. Great job. Peace. Okay, peace, Doctor.
Thank you so much for
This is great. Thank you so much. We got to put that link.
Get ready to level your shit up with the LFG show. We travel the globe to bring you heavy hitters from all walks of life. We've been talking some serious business, from the best digital marketers, government contracting experts, to top athletic and celebrity doctors. We've got it all covered. We're talking to guys who've cashed in for billions with a B. And the best thing is, we're just getting started. So hold on tight. We're about to crank it up a notch. Get ready for next level networking and masterminds within the LFG community. Scared money don't make no money or honey. Hit the subscribe button, drop a like, leave a comment, and let's fucking go.